Now, Mr. Hardcastle, you're very particular. Is there not a creature in the whole country but ourselves that does not take a trip to town now and then to rub off the dust a little? There's the two Miss Hoggs and our neighbour, Mrs. Grigsby, go to take a month's polishing every winter.
Aye, and bring back vanity and affectation to last them the whole year. I wonder why London cannot keep its fools at home. In my time, the follies of the town crept slowly among us, but now they travel faster than a stagecoach. Its fopperies come down not only as inside passengers, but in the very basket.
Ah, your times were fine times indeed. You've been telling us of them for many a long year. Here we live in an old rumbling mansion that looks for all the world like an inn, but we never see company. Our best visitors are old Mrs. Oddfish, the curate's wife, and little Cripplegate, the lame dancing master. And all our entertainment, your old stories of Prince Eugene and the Duke of Marlborough. I hate this old-fashioned trumpery.
And I love it. I love everything that's old. Old friends, old times, old manners, old books, old wine. And I believe, Dorothy, you'll own, I have been pretty fond of an old wife.
Oh, no, Mr. Hardcastle. You're forever at your Dorothys and your old wives. You may be a Darby, but I'll be no Joan, I promise you. I'm not so old as you'd make me by more than one good year. Add 20 to 20 and make money of that.
Let me see. 20 added to 20 makes just 50 and 7.
False, Mr. Hardcastle. I was but 20 when I was brought to bed of Tony, that I had by Mr. Lumpkin, my first husband, and he's not come to years of discretion yet.
Nor ever will, I dare answer for him. Ah, you have taught him finely.
Well, no matter. Tony Lumpkin has a good fortune. My son is not to live by his learning. Don't think a boy wants much learning to spend 1,500 a year.
Learning, quotha, a mere composition of tricks and mischief.
Humour, my dear. Nothing but humour. Oh, come, Mr. Hardcastle, you must allow the boy a little humour.
I'd sooner allow him a horse pond. If burning the footman's shoes, frightening maids and worrying kittens be humour, he has it. It was but yesterday he fastened my wig to the back of my chair that when I went to make a bow, I popped my bald head in Mrs. Frizzle's face.
And am I to blame? The poor boy was always too sickly to do any good. The school would have been his death. When he comes to be a little stronger, who knows what a year or two's Latin may do for him?
Latin for him? A cat and a fiddle. No, the alehouse and the stables are the only schools he'll ever go to.
Well, we must not snub the poor boy now, for I believe we shan't have him long among us. Anybody that looks in his face may see he's consumptive.
Aye, if growing too fat be one of the symptoms.
He coughs sometimes.
Yes, when his liquor goes the wrong way.
I'm actually afraid of his lungs.
And truly so am I, for he sometimes whoops like a speaking trumpet. Oh, here he comes. A very consumptive figure, truly.
Why, Tony! Where you going, my charmer? Won't you give Papa and I a little of your company, lovey?
I'm in haste, Mother. I cannot stay.
You shan't venture out this raw afternoon, my dear. You look most shockingly.
I can't stay, I tell you. The three pigeons expects me down every moment. There's some fun going forward.
Aye, the alehouse, the old place. I thought so.
A low, paltry set of fellas.
Not so low, neither. There's Dick Muggins, the excise man, Jack Slang, the horse doctor, Little Aminadab that grinds the music box, and Tom Twist that spins the pewter platter.
Oh, pray, my dear, disappoint them for one night at least.
As for disappointing them, I should not much mind, but I can't abide to disappoint myself.
Well, you shan't go.
I will, I tell you.
Say you shan't.
We'll see which is the strongest, you or I.
Oh, no! Oh, Bobby! Don't you...
Aye, there goes a pair that only spoil each other. But isn't the whole age in a combination to drive sense and discretion out of doors? There's my pretty darling Kate. The fashions of the times have almost infected her too. By spending a year or two in town, she is as fond of gauze and French frippery as the best of them. Blessings on my pretty innocence. What, dressed out as usual, my Kate? Goodness, what a quantity of superfluous silks thou hast got about thee, girl. I can never teach the fools of this age that the indigent world could be clothed out of the trimmings of the vain.
You know our agreement, sir. You allow me the morning to receive and pay visits and to dress in my own manner. And in the evening, I put on my housewife's dress to please you.
Well, remember, I insist upon the terms of our agreement. And by the by, I believe I shall have occasion to try your obedience this very evening.
I protest, sir, I don't comprehend your meaning.
Then, to be plain with you, Kate, I expect the young gentleman I have chosen to be your husband from town this very day. I have his father's letter in which he informs me his son is set out and that he intends to follow himself shortly after.
Indeed. I wish I had known something of this before. Bless me, how shall I behave? It's 1,000 to 1 I shan't like him. Our meeting will be so formal and so like a thing of business that I shall find no room for friendship or esteem.
Depend upon it, child. I'll never control your choice. But young Mr. Marlow, whom I have pitched upon, is the son of my old friend Sir Charles Marlow, of whom you've heard me talk so often. The young gentleman is bred to be a scholar and is designed for an employment in the service of his country. I'm told he's a man of an excellent understanding.
Is he?
Very generous.
I believe I shall like him.
Young and brave.
I'm sure I shall like him.
And very handsome.
My dear Papa, say no more. He's mine. I'll have him.
And to crown it all, Kate, he's one of the most bashful and reserved young fellows in all the world.
Oh. You've frozen me to death again. That word reserved has undone all the rest of his accomplishments. A reserved lover, it is said, always makes a suspicious husband.
On the contrary, modesty seldom resides in a breast which is not enriched with nobler virtues. It was the very feature in his character that first struck me.
He must have more striking features to catch me, I promise you. However, if he be so young, so handsome, so everything as you mention, I believe he'll do still. I think I'll have him.
Aye, Kate, but there is still an obstacle. It's more than an even wager. He may not have you.
Papa, why will you mortify one so? Well, if he refuses, instead of breaking my heart at his indifference, I'll only break my glass for its flattery, set my cap to some newer fashion, and look out for some less difficult admirer.
Bravely resolved. In the meantime, I'll go prepare the servants for his reception. Since we seldom see company, they want as much training as a bunch of recruits the first day's muster.
Oh, lad. This news of Papa's puts me all in a flutter. Young, handsome. These he put last. I put them foremost. Sensible, good-natured, I like all that. But then reserved and sheepish. Well, that's much against him. Can't he be cured of his timidity by being taught to be proud of his wife? Yes, and can't I... But I vow I'm disposing of the husband before I have secured the lover. Oh, I'm glad you're come, Neville, my dear. Tell me, Constance, how do I look this afternoon? Is there anything whimsical about me? Is it one of my well-looking days, child? Am I in face today?
Perfectly, my dear. Yet, now I look again. Bless me. Sure no accident has happened among the canary birds or the goldfishes. Has your brother or the cat been meddling? Or has the last novel been too moving?
No, nothing of all this. I have been threatened. I can scarce get it out. I have been threatened with a lover.
And his name?
Is Marlow.
Indeed.
The son of Sir Charles Marlow.
As I lived, the most intimate friend of Mr. Hastings, my admirer. They are never asunder. I believe you must have seen him when we lived in town.
Never.
He's a very singular character, I assure you. Among women of reputation and virtue, he is the modestest man alive. But his acquaintance give him a very different character among creatures of another stamp. You understand me?
An odd character indeed. I shall never be able to manage him. What shall I do? Sure. Think no more of him, but trust to occurrences for success. Oh, but how goes on your own affair, my dear? Has my mother been courting you for my brother Tony, as usual?
I have just come from one of our agreeable tete-a-tetes. She has been saying 100 tender things and setting off her pretty monster as the very pink of perfection.
And her partiality is such that she actually thinks him so. A fortune like yours is no small temptation. Besides, as she has the sole management of it, I'm not surprised to see her unwilling to let it go out of the family.
A fortune like mine, which chiefly consists in jewels, is no such mighty temptation. But, at any rate, if my dear Hastings be but constant, I make no doubt to be too hard for her at last. However, I let her suppose that I am in love with her son, and she never once dreams that my affections are fixed upon another.
My good brother holds out stoutly. I could almost love him for hating you so.
It is a good-natured creature at bottom, and I'm sure would wish to see me married to anybody but himself. But my aunt's bell rings for our afternoon's walk through the improvements. Allons, courage is necessary as our affairs are critical.
Would it were bedtime and all were well.
What, you've never heard nothing like that? No, every my life.
Silence for a song.
Oh, a song!
He's going to knock himself down for a song.
Go on, song.
Then I'll sing you gentlemen a song I made upon this alehouse, The Three Pigeons.
Hooray!
Let schoolmasters puzzle their brain with grammar and nonsense and learning. Good liquor, I stoutly maintain, gives Janus a better discerning. Let them cry of their heathenish gods, their lees and their sticks and their stygians, their queens and their quays and their quads. They're all but a parcel of pigeons.
Hey!
To-roddle, to-roddle, to-roll, to-roddle, to-roddle, to-roll,
To-roddle, to-roddle, to-roll, to-roddle, to-roddle, to-roll.
When Methodist preachers come down, are preaching that drinking is sinful. I'll wager the rascals a crown. They'll always preach best with a skinful. But when you come down with your pence for a slice of their scurvy religion, I'll leave it to all men of sense. But you, my good friend, are the pigeon. To-roddle, to-roddle, to-roll, to-roddle, to-roddle, to-roll, to-roddle, to-roddle, to-roll, to-roddle, to-roddle, to-roll. Then come put the jorum about, and let us be merry and clever. Our hearts and our liquors are stout. Here's the three jolly pigeons forever. Let some cry up woodcock or hare, your bustards, your ducks and your widgeons. But of all of the birds in the air, here's our health to the three jolly pigeons.
Hey!
To-roddle, to-roddle, to-roll, to-roddle, to-roddle, to-roll, to-roddle, to-roddle, to-roll, to-roddle, to-roddle, to-roll. Hey!
Squire got spunk in him.
He loves to hear him sing, because he never gives us nothing that's low.
Ah, damn anything that's low. I cannot bear it.
The genteel thing is a genteel thing at any time, if so be that a gentleman be's in concatenation accordingly.
I like the maximum of that, Master Muggins. What? That I'm obligated to dance a bear? A man may be a gentleman for all of that. May this be my poison if my bear ever dances to but the genteelest of tunes.
Here's to that.
Water Parted or the Minuet in Ariadne.
What a pity the squire's not come to his own. It would be well for all the publicans within 10 miles round of him.
He cotton so it would, Master Slang. I then show what it was to keep choice of company.
Oh, he'd take after his own father for that. Oh, to be sure, old Squire Lumpkin was the finest gentleman I ever set my eyes on. For winding a straight horn, or beating the thicket for a hare, or wench, he never had his fellow. It was a saying in the place, he kept the best horses, dogs, and gals in the whole county.
He cotton, when I'm of age, I'll be no bastard, I promise you. I've been thinking of bet bouncer and the miller's grey mare to begin with. But come, my boys, drink about me merry, for you pay no reckoning. Well, Stinger, what's the matter?
There be two gentlemen in a coach at the door. They've lost their way upon the forest and they're talking something about Mr. Hardcastle.
Sure as can be. One of them must be the gentleman that's coming down to court my sister. Do they seem to be Londoners?
I believe they may. They look woundily like Frenchmen.
Then desire them step this way. I'll set them right in a twinkling. Gentlemen, as they make me good enough company for you, step down for a moment. I'll be with you in the squeezing of a lemon. mother-in-law has been calling me whelping hound this half year. Now, if I'm pleased, I could be so revenged upon the old Grumbletonian. But then I'm afraid. Afraid of what? I shall soon be worth 1,500 a year. Let him frighten me out of that if he can.
What a tedious, uncomfortable day we've had of it. We were told it was but 40 miles across the country. We've come above 70.
Yeah, and all, Marlow, from that unaccountable reserve of yours that would not let us inquire more frequently on the way.
I own, Hastings, I am unwilling to lay myself under an obligation to everyone I meet, and often stand the chance of an unmannerly answer.
At present, however, we are not likely to receive any answer.
No offence, gentlemen, but I'm told you've been inquiring for one Mr. Hardcastle in these parts. Do you know what part of the country you're in?
Not in the least, sir, but should thank you for information.
Nor the way you came?
No, sir, but if you can inform us...
Why, gentlemen? You know neither the road you're going, nor where you are, nor the way you came. The first thing I have to inform you is that you have lost your way.
We wanted no ghost to tell us that.
Pray, gentlemen, may I be so bold as to ask the place from whence you came?
That's not necessary towards directing where we
No
are to go.
offence, but question for question is all fair, you know. Pray, gentlemen, is not this same Hardcastle a cross-grained, old-fashioned, whimsical fellow with an ugly face, a daughter and a pretty son?
We have not seen the gentleman, but he has the family you mention.
The daughter a tall, traipsing, trolloping, talkative maypole. The son a pretty, well-bred, agreeable youth that everybody is fond of.
Our information differs in this. The daughter is said to be well-bred and beautiful. The son, an awkward booby, reared up and spoiled at his mother's apron string.
Then, gentlemen, all I have to tell you is you won't reach Mr. Hardcastle's house this night, I believe.
Unfortunate.
It's a damn long, dark, boggy, dirty, dangerous way. Stingo, tell the gentleman the way to Mr. Hardcastle's. Mr. Hardcastle of Quagmire Marsh, you understand me?
Mr. Hardcastle's. Coof, lackadaisy, my masters, you have come a deadly deal wrong. When you came to the bottom of the hill, you should have crossed down Squash Lane.
Cross down Squash Lane.
Then you were to keep straight forward until you came to Four Roads.
Come to where 4 roads meet.
Aye, but you must be sure to take only one of them.
Oh, sir, you're facetious.
Then, keeping to the right, you're to go sideways till you come to Farmer Moraine's barn. Coming to the farmer's barn, you're to turn to the right, then to the left, then to the right about again, till you find out the old mill.
Zoons, man, we could as soon find out the longitude.
What's to be done, Marlow?
This house promises but a poor reception, though perhaps the landlord can accommodate us.
Oh, alack, master. We have but one spare bed in the whole house.
And to my knowledge, that's taken up by 3 lodgers already. I have hit it. Don't you think, Stingo, our landlady could accommodate the gentleman by the fireside with 3 chairs and a bolster?
I hate sleeping by the fireside.
And I detest your 3 chairs and a bolster.
You do you? And let me see, what... If you go on a mile further, to the Buck's Head, the old Buck's Head on the hill, one of the best inns in the whole country.
Oh? Ah. So we've escaped an adventure for this night, however.
Sure, you've been sending them to your father's as an inn, be you?
Mum, you fool you, let them find that out. You've only to keep on straight forward till you come to a large old house by the roadside. You'll see a pair of large horns over the door, that's the sign. Drive up the yard and call stoutly about you.
Sir, we are obliged to you. The servants can't miss the way.
No. I'll tell you, though, the landlord is rich and going to leave off business, so he wants to be thought a gentleman, saving your presence. He'll be for giving you his company. And he can't, if you mind him, he'll persuade you that his mother was an alderman and his aunt a justice of the peace.
Troublesome old blade, to be sure. But he keeps as good wines and beds as any in the whole country.
Well, if he supplies us with these, we shall want no further connection. We are to turn to the right, did you say?
No, straight forward. I'll just step myself and show you a piece of the way. Mum.
Bless your heart. For a sweet, pleasant, damn, mischievous son of a whore.
Well, I hope you're perfect in the table exercises I have been teaching you these 3 days. You all know your posts and your places and can show that you've been used to good company without ever stirring from home.
Aye.
When company comes, you're not to pop out and stare and then run in again like frightened rabbits in a warren.
No, no.
You, Diggory, whom I've taken from the barn, are to make a show at the side table, and you, Roger, whom I've advanced from the plough, are to place yourself behind my chair. But you're not to stand so with your hands in your pockets. Take your hands from your pockets, Roger. And from your head, you blockhead, you. See how Diggory carries his hands. They're a little too stiff indeed, but that's no great matter.
Mind how I hold 'em. I learnt to hold my hands like this when I was upon drill for the militia. And so, being upon drill...
Diggory, you must not be so talkative. You must be all attention to the guests. You must hear us talk and not think of talking. You must see us drink and not think of drinking. And you must see us eat and not think of eating.
By the laws, your worship, that's perfectly impossible. Whenever Diggory sees yeating going forward, he's always wishing for a mouthful himself.
Blockhead, is not a bellyful in the kitchen as good as a bellyful in the parlour? Stay your stomach with that reflection.
Thank you, worship. I'll make a shift to stay my stomach with a slice of cold beef in the pan.
Diggory, you are too talkative. Then, if I happen to say a good thing or tell a good story at table, you're not all to burst out a-laughing as if you made part of the company.
Then, Icard, your worship must not tell the story of old grouse in the gun room. I cannot help laughing. For the soul of me. We've laughed at that these 20 years.
Well, the story is a good one. Well, honest Diggory, you may laugh at that, but still remember to be attentive. Suppose one of the company should call for a glass of wine. How will you behave? A glass of wine, sir, if you please. Hey, why don't you move?
Because, your worship, I never have the courage till I see the eatables and drinkables brought upon the table. And then I'm as bold as a lion.
What, will nobody move?
I'm not to leave this place.
Well, I'm sure it's no place of mine.
You do no mine for, sir.
Well, I'm sure it cannot be mine.
Oh, you numbskulls. And so, while like your betters you are quarrelling for places, the guests must be starved. Oh, you dunces, I find I must begin all over again. Don't I hear a coach driving to the yard? To your posts, you blockheads. I'll go in the meantime and give my old friend's son a hearty reception at the gate.
By the 11s, my place has gone quite out of my head.
I know that my place is to be everywhere.
Where the devil is mine?
Well, my place is to be nowhere at all, so I goes about my business.
Welcome, gentlemen, very welcome. This way.
After the disappointments of the day, Charles, welcome once more to the comforts of a clean room and a good fire. On my word, a very well-looking house. Antique, but creditable.
The usual fate of a large mansion. Having first ruined the master by good housekeeping, it at last comes to levy contributions as an inn.
As you say, we passengers are to be taxed to pay for all these fineries. I've often seen a good sideboard or a marble chimney-piece, though not actually put in the bill, inflame a reckoning confoundedly.
Travellers, George, must pay in all places. The only difference is that in good inns you pay dearly for luxuries, in bad inns you're fleeced and starved.
You have lived pretty much among them. In truth, I have been often surprised, you who have seen so much of the world, with your natural good sense and your many opportunities, could never yet acquire a requisite share of assurance.
The Englishman's malady. But tell me, George, where could I have learned that assurance you talk of? My life has been chiefly spent in a college, or an inn, in seclusion from that lovely part of the creation that chiefly teaches men confidence. I don't know that I was ever familiarly acquainted with a single modest woman, except my mother. But among females of another class, you know.
Among them, you are impudent enough of all conscience.
They are of us, you know.
But in the company of women of reputation, I never saw such an idiot, such a trembler. You look for all the world as if you wanted an opportunity of stealing out of the room.
Why, man, that's because I do want to steal out of the room. Faith, I have often formed a resolution to break the ice and rattle away at any rate. But I don't know how. A single glance from a pair of fine eyes has totally overset my resolution. An impudent fellow may counterfeit modesty, but I'll be hanged if a modest man can ever counterfeit impudence.
If you could but say half the fine things to them that I've heard you lavish upon the barmaid of an inn, or even a college bedmaker.
Why, George, I can't say fine things to them. They freeze, they petrify me. They may talk of a comet or a burning mountain or some such bagatelle, but to me, a modest woman, dressed out in all her finery, is the most tremendous object of the whole creation.